So, another case study, very interesting, concerning the adjective weird. We all know what it means. It's one of the most overused adjectives these days, a weird person, a weird situation, a weird character, whatever. The definition of the OED is the following: partaking or suggestive of the supernatural, of a mysterious or unearthly character, unaccountably or uncomfortably strange, uncanny. So I would say the last two qualifiers are mostly applicable these days: strange and uncanny. But it's very difficult to translate that. Yeah? Weird is weird, and you know that, but it goes in that direction, strange and uncanny. Of course, you will expect that this meaning is comparatively new and that there is an old meaning of the word, an older meaning, which is probably related or not. In order to find out about that, of course, it's always best to start with an etymological dictionary. I've used two. This is one here, the first one, online dictionary, etymonline.com, I think, yes, etymonline.com. Very recommendable online dictionary. All right. So it says about weird, about the noun weird. Having power to control fate from weird noun, okay, Old English weird, fate, chance, fortune, destiny, the fates, literally that which comes from Proto-Germanic wirvis, source of, Old Saxon word, Old High German word, Old North urth, fate, norns, from Proto-Indo-European word, to turn, to wine, source also of German werden, Old English werthan, to become. Before we talk about this in detail, another one here. This is Aito. That one here, word origins. Okay, he writes, weird, originally weird, was a noun meaning fate, destiny. Etymologically, it denoted that which comes about, for it was derived from the same base which produced the now obsolete English verb worth, come, to be, become, a relative of German werden, become. It was used adjectively in Middle English in the sense of having power to control fate, which is where the weird sisters who confronted Macbeth come in. But the modern sense, uncanny, and this is the one we established, did not emerge until the 19th century, inspired by Shakespeare. Okay, so let's follow this trace here. So, weird, okay, Germanic, German. Let's turn to German first, because it's always a good starting point. German, related. Das, was wird in German, literally translated that what happens. So, wird is the verb which means happen, more or less. Yeah? Das, was wird, that which happened. And so, wird, the noun is exactly that which is going to happen, first of all. Das, was wird in German, that what happens in English. Okay, and in order to establish that, what it meant or what connotation it had in Old English times, let's turn to Old English poetry. Here are some lines of The Wanderer, a great Anglo-Saxon elegy, one of the greatest ever, about a bloke who is alone in the ice-cold sea in a ship, because the rest of his tribe, they're all dead, and he knows that he is doomed and will follow their trace, their path, and that he won't find employment again because he survived his king, and if you survived your king in Anglo-Saxon times, you're worth nothing. A ship like that. Okay, but he says a few things weird. Here is one line. Weird bith full red. Best translated, fate is relentless. And here you go. Yeah? Weird meaning fate. Fate which is there, which doesn't show any mercy at all, that which happens. Or another one, ne meg Erik moord weird with stondan. Literally translated, I try to translate literally, not may a weary heart, yes, this is the modern mood, not may a weary heart withstand fate. Okay, fate is not to be withstood. It's something which will inevitably happen, and we come to that. Beowulf, a few lines in Beowulf where you have weird, gather weird swa he or shall, weird fares as she must. Interesting, the personification of weird as feminine, which brings us back, well, you see that, how that comes about. So weird as feminine. Okay. He weird for Sweop on Grendel's greer. Them weird swept away into Grendel's grasp. So it was fate that a lot of these Danes were eaten by the monster Grendel. I mean, for those of you who know Beowulf, he's a cannibal, no, man-eater at least, and he eats a lot of the heroes of Hrothgar's court before Beowulf comes and rescues them. Okay, a last one. Eale weird for Sweop, min magas to metod schärfte. Something like this. Weird has swept away all my line to the land of doom. Okay, the noun weird is omnipresent in Anglo-Saxon poetry. Okay, there are loads of others. And if you bear in mind that Anglo-Saxon poetry, all of the Anglo-Saxon poems with a few exceptions, are elegies, songs, dirges, songs about death and loss and so on. It's clear who is responsible ultimately for all that. Weird is fate. So here we go. The Anglo-Saxon pagan belief, this is very pagan, everything is preordained. So weird, once again, that which happens inevitably. Inevitably, you can't avoid it. The only thing is you don't know. So you do your best in battle, but if you in the end catch it, it's fate. It's fate, which you can never escape. And this is weird. Okay. So weird originally pertaining to fate, and therefore we have to ask ourselves, how did the modern sense, strange and uncanny, develop? And here we go. There is a Shakespearean connection. There is a Shakespearean connection. We already said this. Weird derives from Old English noun weird. We know this. By the 8th century, the plural had begun to appear in text as a gloss for the Parsi, the Latin name for the Fates. We come to those. 3 goddesses who spun, measured, and cut the thread of life. Now the important thing. In the 15th, 16th centuries, Scots authors employed weird in the phrase weird sisters to refer to the Fates, to those Parsi, the Latin ones, or there are the norms, the pagan ones, Germanic ones. William Shakespeare adopted this usage in Macbeth, in which the weird sisters are depicted as 3 witches. Subsequent adjectival use of weird grew out of a reinterpretation of the weird sisters used by Shakespeare, of the weird. Okay, this is Webster's dictionary says this. These are the Parsi they mentioned, the Parsi personifications of destiny, just a not very contemporary illustration. And they are referred to as weird. Here are the weird sisters. Macbeth, the weird sisters. I think witches is never used in Macbeth. I mean, they are referred to as the weird sisters. That's another illustration. And those weird sisters, we know, of course, Macbeth, they predict the future. Hail to thee, Macbeth, Thane of Glamis, Thane of Coda, thou shalt be king hereafter. Wow, what a prediction. Or when they predict a banquo, thou shalt not be king, but thou shalt get kings, something like this. You will beget kings. So they predict the future. what they say here is very weird, and therefore probably we have a look at that. Yeah, the weird sisters hand in hand, posters of the sea and land, thus to go about thrice to thine and thrice to mine and thrice again to make up 9. Peace the charms wound up. Okay, yeah, that's weird. Uncanny. Yeah, but it doesn't mean uncanny yet. So these weird sisters saluted me, Macbeth says in his letter to his wife, and referred me to the coming on of time with Hail King that shall be. So the weird sisters, and Macbeth says this to his wife, or writes that, they predicted what will happen, and therefore inevitably happen, and therefore, of course, he has to kill Duncan, which he will do. Banquo, another 2 quotes by Banquo. I dreamt last night of the 3 weird sisters. To you they have showed some truth. So Banquo says, I mean, they were right in predicting what happens to happen to you. And he says, thou hast it now, King, Coda, Glamis, all as the weird women promised. So the weird women promised, the fate women predicted the future. And I think this is the translation here. Weird as a noun. The weird women promised, the fate women predicted the future. This is what Banquo says here. So, here we go. Shakespeare may have had the Anglo-Saxon noun fate in mind. Okay? Weird sisters, fate sisters. A compound. Fate sisters. The weird sisters, and not an adjective. However, weird may have been wrongly interpreted as an adjective, denoting the main property of the sisters, which is their uncanny nature. And then you see wrongly interpreted as an adjective, and then you have to give it some meaning. And what are they? They are supernatural, uncanny, strange. So this weird noun thing becomes an adjective, meaning what it means today. I mean, this can only work with this ambiguity in English between noun and adjective. In German, it wouldn't work because you have too many suffixes and stuff like that. I mean, it wouldn't work. Or in any other Germanic language, only in English. One example here, master, mistress, Shakespeare Sonnet 20. It can be read as a compound, master, mistress. Master, mistress, or master as an adjective. The main mistress, the predominant mistress. And weird sisters may be just interpreted as a case like that. So it is a weird sister. It is originally a noun. And then because there is this grammatical ambiguity between noun and adjective in English, see master, mistress, interpreted as an adjective, then later on applied, and there we are today with weird being this adjective meaning uncanny, supernatural, strange, weird. Okay. So one more example of how languages change and how literature, culture, great authors are responsible for language change. But something which is not to be underestimated. Okay, so let's stop here.